when will the next earthquake hit California? Meaning, of course, a mega thrust earthquake. Well, geologists say that it could be some point in your lifetime at least. This by Eureka on the Bustle. San Andreas, the next Hollywood film based on a smidgen of science and a heap of fear of natural disasters, following a helicopter pilot played by Dwayne Johnson trying to save his daughter after San Andreas fault triggers a magnitude 9 earthquake in California. But when will the next real California earthquake happen? In real life, scientists have said that the next California earthquake of magnitude 8 or larger could also, which is also called the big one, could happen in the next 30 years, according to the Associated Press. According even to the USGS, they state that we have a 72% chance of a 6.7 or higher in the next 30 years, and they made that prediction around 2004. And we're already about 2/3 gone of that time span. Now, recently, a team of 300 scientists, governors, first responders, industries worked for more than a year coming up with a realistic crisis scenario to prepare for the next big one. The U.S. Geological Survey and California Geological Survey published their findings, and according to AP, researchers said that their work is not a prediction, but that the threat of a major earthquake happening in California in the next few decades is real. USGS specifically found that the chance of the next big one happening in California in the next 30 years nearly doubled from 4.7% to 7%. Now, these predictions were made before the Ridgecrest earthquakes, by the way. Now, after the Ridgecrest earthquakes, now that we have a triggering of the San Andreas, and we've seen a tremendous amount of uptake in activity, in earthquake activity on the San Andreas, and the Walker Lane fault system, and the Golet fault, and the southern portion of San Andreas fault towards Salton Buttes volcano, Salton Sea volcanoes. What happens with that prediction? They haven't come out with a different prediction. They have not changed that or referred to that much. So these odds might not seem that bad if you first consider the kind of destruction that we are talking about. The magnitude 6.7 earthquake happened in Northridge in 1994, and there were 9,000 injuries from that. Crumbling freeways, widespread gas fires, collapsed apartment buildings, power loss across the city. And now scientists have estimated that the next big one would injure 50,000 and a loss of 1,800. But even if something smaller than the big one could cause widespread destruction, and the odds of a smaller yet still deadly earthquake happening in the next 30 years are even higher. According to the data released by USGS, there is at least a 99% chance that California could be hit by a magnitude 6.7 earthquake. Well, we've already had that. We've had the 7.1 at Ridgecrest, which was, of course, thank goodness, away from populated areas. It was in an area that had trailer parks and very low story buildings, and Ridgecrest only has 87,000 population, and thank goodness there were unbelievably no loss of life from that. Perhaps it's because we had the foreshock of the 6.4 the day before, and people were alert. They were alert, and they were ready. And the geologists came out saying, be careful because we may have aftershocks as big or bigger or whatever. So people were ready and alert. So, yes, 6.7, 99%. Similar to Northridge disaster in the next 30 years. And there's a 93% chance of a magnitude 7 or larger earthquake occurring over the same period. 93% chance. Even the chance of an earthquake greater than magnitude 7.5 is still pretty high at 48%. That's almost 50%. USGS physicist Ned Field told NBC Los Angeles that residents are ignoring facts if they think the big earthquake will not happen anytime soon. California is earthquake country, so residents should live every day like it could be the day of the big one. The San Andreas Fault is one of the greatest threats for California earthquakes. It has not ruptured in more than 3 centuries. It's overdue by 200 years, according to NBC and USGS and Dr. Michio Kaku. It's overdue. That means that the energy of the 2 tectonic plates rubbing past one another, it's a subduction zone as we know, getting stuck at opposite points has had a long time to build up like a coiled spring. This is what Dr. Lucy Jones told us after the Ridgecrest earthquakes, that the Ridgecrest earthquakes in no way make the likelihood less of the San Andreas rupturing with a megathrust earthquake. That's because she knows that perhaps San Andreas takes 75%, well, of course she does. She's a doctor in geology. 75% of the pressure of the subduction is taken by the San Andreas fault, and 25% is taken by the Walker Lane fault system that runs easterly of San Andreas, parallel to it, meeting the Golet fault. And we have the San Andreas, perpendicular San Andreas, the Golet fault, and at Ridgecrest going from southeast to northwest, parallel to San Andreas, we have the Walker Lane fault system. That takes up 25% of the subduction pressure. It makes a long U-shape. And most of the high-threat volcanoes of California are on the Walker Lane fault system. So in a separate interview, the geologist Dr. Fields said that the most likely place in California to host a large earthquake would of course be along the southern San Andreas, from Coachella Valley to the Mojave. Well, there you go. We had the Mojave earthquake in Ridgecrest. Plate tectonic stresses have really built up beyond where they do on average, and so we think that those areas are particularly high in terms of the likelihood of having a large earthquake. And we see that now. We have a tremendous amount of earthquakes every single day. We've had over 100,000 earthquakes since the Ridgecrest earthquakes, and they're still ongoing. And we even had, we know that it's on the Ring of Fire, and I'll do another video on that. It's still rocking with the shallow earthquakes, shallow and not that shallow actually. And the Ridgecrest earthquakes, oh my goodness, we just had a big one. Oh, that's the one on the, okay. That's the one on the Gorda plate on the Juan de Fuca that I did a video on just a few videos back. The subduction zone. We also had quake swarms picking up in the Long Valley Caldera supervolcano area and quake swarms in Yellowstone. We had one in the past few days with over 96 of magnitude 2 in Yellowstone, northwest of the Norris Geyser Basin. We've also seen that it is inflating, meaning that there's fluid migration in there. And this is nothing new. The last time we had a 7.1 magnitude earthquake in Ridgecrest was 20 years ago, in 1999. And a few weeks after that, Long Valley Caldera was found to have a quake swarm, and Yellowstone supervolcano was found to have a quake swarm, just as they are now. This is the most seismic area of the world now, the West Coast, and the fault line leading into Yellowstone. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.